Now, shall we begin?
The one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail, fall, die trying. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you.
What is an adpocalypse? Now, at first you think that might just be a mispronunciation of apocalypse, but no, actually, adpocalypse is a YouTube term that refers to the mass removal of ads, which of course were the largest amount of financial funds are generated by. An adpocalypse usually takes either of two forms. One, companies and advertisers mass remove their ads, thus lowering revenue for both creators, video uploaders, and YouTube as a whole, the company. Or YouTube removes the advertisement option from a massive number of channels. Now, YouTube prefers the second version because they have control over this. And it also works as a form of censorship. People whose videos are not approved by YouTube for whatever reason no longer generate revenue from their video. One of the reasons YouTube will do this as well is because of other media outlets demanding censorship on YouTube's part. You have to understand that all forms of media are in competition with each other, not just with people on the same type of platform. I mean, most people understand, of course, that a TV channel is in competition with all other TV channels. Channel 4 is in competition with Channel 6 and the like. However, it's not just TV that one channel is competing against. They are also competing against radio, which of course different broadcasts compete with each other within radio, but they also compete with TV. Cable competes with both TV and radio. Newspapers compete with all of these, not just rival newspapers. In fact, you may have heard that newspapers are dead. That's a common saying. It's not 100% true. There still are newspapers being sold. But it is true that newspapers are nowhere near as popular as they used to be. Readership and subscriptions for paper deliveries are really at an all-time low because there are so many other ways to get news or entertainment or opinions or whatever. And newspapers have to compete against all of that, and they don't do as well. Magazines compete against this, and now the internet is also a competitor to all of these groups: radio, TV, newspapers, cable, the like. So often, especially TV or certain internet channels, will try to get YouTube to censor itself. Now, a lot of people, the kind of the common ordinary citizen, just views YouTube as a place where people upload funny home videos. And that's true. People do that. But there are actually channels, like a TV channel almost, on YouTube, where certain creators produce what they call content, which can be anything, much like a TV program. Some of it is straight up entertainment, some of it's comedic, some of it is educational, some of it is commentary, whether political or culture or secular or religious or philosophical or whatever. People will do whatever they want. People will do reviews on movies, books, video games, toys, you name it. There are cooking channels. There are advice channels even. You can learn how to do things, learn how to cook, learn how to write a book, learn how to draw, learn all kinds of things can be done on YouTube. So this is a competition for TV and the other forms of media. So they often will try to get YouTube to censor itself, the YouTube company to censor its creators' videos, in other words. When YouTube removes the possibility of ad revenue from channels, this limits the creators of those channels' ability to support themselves. Most YouTubers are not full-time YouTubers. They work another job, either part-time or full-time, and they do YouTube in their free time, whatever that time is. The ad revenue they make from ads helps to support that, so that they don't have to work as many hours with their other job, or jobs even, and thus have more time to create videos, and create better videos. But you take that away, you take that option away from them. Now they do have to put in more work with their day job and have less time for the YouTube channel, which of course means less competition for those other medias. And that includes other YouTube channels even. YouTube does have its own preferred channels. One of the things you have to understand is that YouTube, the original creators are gone. They sold YouTube. YouTube is actually now owned by Google, which is in turn owned by Alphabet, a company, not the actual Alphabet. And what the current owners of YouTube want is to basically be internet TV. As such, you will notice that there are a lot of, especially on the recommended so-called trending front page channels, that they will show a lot of daytime TV type things, late night comedians and the like, because what they, news centers, major, national corporations. The kind of things you find on TV, because that's what YouTube, the owners, want YouTube to become. And they've been slowly pushing YouTube in this direction, adding in new regulations, new bylaws, new policies, slowly kind of pushing and trying to weed the non-TV or non-approved channels, wrongthink, essentially, out. So this has all been building up for quite a while. Now, what kicked off the recent round, or this most recent adpocalypse, was Vox. Now, Vox is a media outlet, a digital media outlet with a strong YouTube channel. And it's one of the approved channels by YouTube. So they're not really ever in danger of being demonetized or their ads removed by YouTube because of this. They are kind of that TV-like vibe that YouTube is going for. One of their creators, as Vox has several creators, is a man by the name, I believe, Carlos Maza. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. But what said he is responsible partially for the latest adpocalypse. Many people pointed out that YouTube has been doing this for a while, and that's true. However, YouTube is taking advantage of this to not only accelerate this process, but clamp down even harder than arguably they otherwise would have. Carlos made a bad video. I'm not speaking of its production qualities, average YouTube video in that regard. But he tried to make an argument that major national news corporations are basically controlled by, of all things, Fox News. Now, of course, anyone who watches any major news network, CNN or NBC or any of the others, knows that's not true. Regardless of where you fall on a political divide or you're unaffiliated, it is public knowledge that even most children know that large mainstream media sources are largely liberal, with only a few conservative media doing any kind of real pushback on that, regardless of whether you feel that's good or bad or you're indifferent to it. Now, another YouTube channel known as Louder with Crowder, run by a comedian, Steven Crowder, made a response video debunking it. And they debunked it quite thoroughly. So much so that Carlos has been unable to create a response to the response video because of that. His video was so thoroughly debunked. Now, Crowder is not a journalist, however. He is, as I said before, a comedian. You might say he's a political pundit, discussing culture and politics is what he does, and he attempts to do it in a funny way. Now, humor is subjective, so you may or may not find him funny. But what he does really isn't any different than what Jimmy Kimmel will do or Don Lemon will do. Again, depending whether you actually find them funny or not, but it's the same vein. He does the same thing they do, he's just on YouTube rather than on TV. Like Don Lemon or Jimmy Kimmel, Crowder will often lightly mock the person that he is, or who made the video that he's debunking, as he often makes these debunking type videos. He's quite good at it. Regardless whether you feel he's good at comedy or not, he is quite good at debunking his chosen videos. In response, unable to rebuttal the debunking video, Carlos went to YouTube. And basically, his argument was YouTube should be like high school. If you're in high school and you get bullied, you should be able to go to the principal, and the principal makes the bully stop. Which isn't exactly accurate anyways. The principal is more likely to get both the bully and the person bullied in trouble, because most school administrators just don't care and just don't want a problem. Of course, life doesn't work that way. Life is not high school. High school is fake. At least in the sense of the social aspect of it. The real world does not work like high school. Carlos claims to be gay. I don't really know anything much about him. I never heard of him until this drama has gone down. I don't know if he actually is gay or if he isn't. It is true that there are some, especially in the political arena, who will pretend to be a protected class because they falsely believe this means that legally their opinions cannot be challenged. Now, there are plenty of people in the political arena who actually are gay or whatever perceived minority. So I'm not accusing him one way or the other. I just simply don't know if he actually is or isn't. But regardless, he falsely believes that because he has claimed to be gay, therefore he is protected from any form of debunking, essentially. You can't criticize his opinion, you can't debunk him, you can't mock him, you can't do anything. Because he believes that he has more rights than the average ordinary person does, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution of America specifically states that all men, and men refers to mankind here, so it does include women of course, are created equal. And that is to be equal in the eyes of the law, of course. Which means that constitutionally, no one can have more or less rights than anyone else, at least as far as a U.S. citizen goes. If you're not a U.S. citizen, well, then you're subject to the laws of whatever country you come from. That's how nationality works, sovereign nations and all that. Carlos doesn't believe in the Constitution, or at least that aspect of it clearly. He believes that he has more rights than anyone else does, and he expects YouTube to enforce these perceived unconstitutional rights. And so via Twitter, another internet forum, another media outlet as well actually, or at least a platform, a host for media content, which like YouTube suffers from many of the old guard media, insisting that it self-censor itself, therefore to be less competitive. On Twitter, Carlos went on what's referred to as a Twitter storm. This is a reference to writing out a lot of tweets about the same thing, or at least related subjects, which he's been doing for several days, and as far as I know is still doing it, in which he would constantly post messages to YouTube asking them to initially ban Crowder, which is something he still wants, and to also, though, remove advertisement from Crowder and any other like-minded channels, that is, channels similar to Crowder. Basically, again, wanting them to censor people. Now, in addition to believing that he has more constitutional rights than the average citizen, Carlos also believes that he is a spokesperson for other homosexuals or alternative sexualities, the LGBTQ community. Now, as far as I know, he has no such official standing, regardless of whether he actually is gay or not. He doesn't actually have the ability to speak for anybody. Simply because he may or may not be gay does not mean he's able to identify with other homosexual content creators on YouTube who come from all walks of life. You can have ones that are white, ones that are black, male, female, rich, poor, old, young, disabled, enabled, veterans, civilians, in politics, out of politics, married, unmarried, with children, without children, people who survived tragedies, divorces, deaths of loved ones. He can't speak for them as a group because, to be honest, no such group really exists. People are way too diverse to be grouped into a single element. No one is defined by one attribute. This is simply being homosexual is simply one thing he may have in common with these other content creators. But it could very well be the only thing he has in common, and an insignificant one at that. Nevertheless, as their self-appointed messiah, he has been speaking on their behalf, telling YouTube that he represents them, encouraging them to follow his lead, that is the other content creators, and to ban, Crowder, and demonetize anyone remotely similar to him. Credit where credit is due, YouTube has refused to ban Crowder, as he has not actually broken any rules. After all, if they banned Crowder on the grounds that Carlos wants them to, they would have to ban other people like Don Lemon and Jimmy Kimmel, as mentioned before. Stephen Colbert would have to be banned. Any and all such. Because he does exactly what they do, comedy style-wise. They don't really make debunking videos, admittedly, but the comedy that he does, to which Carlos refers to as a bullying, harassment behavior, these late-night comedians and Crowder do the exact same thing. YouTube, of course, is well aware of this. On top of this, the government has also begun doing antitrust probes into large tech corporations like Google, which owns YouTube, as well as Facebook and the like. Doing something like this would certainly run afoul of any such probe. I don't know if YouTube is actually being probed or not. Google is. They're owned by Google, so they may be a part of that probe. Or the probe that's about to happen. I don't know if it's actually started yet, but the government is gearing up to do this. Antitrust laws exist to keep large corporations from creating monopolies. Something that YouTube largely has, as it's used its Silicon Valley connections to squash most other alternative media platforms that are similar to YouTube. Because back in the day, there used to be other YouTubes. And nowadays, there are very few other ones, because YouTube has coordinated with other Silicon Valley types to squash those competitions and send them under, thus creating a monopoly, essentially, if not in fact. So this is a delicate time for YouTube right now. It doesn't allow them to be as draconian with their authority as perhaps they might like to be. Now, in giving credit, we also have to show what people have done that is to their discredit, and that is that YouTube has initiated an adpocalypse, which is a mass demonetization of channels. Basically, of any channel that YouTube doesn't like, doesn't profit them. Not necessarily a Louder with Crowder type channel. If you're familiar at all with Tim Pool, an independent journalist, he put out, I believe, a channel called Stardust Vibes that basically does a form of ASMR, I believe. Basically, it's just ambient noises. The creator of this channel simply creates videos of beachfronts or snowstorms and the like, and I don't know if he maybe plays music to it or not, but it's just ambient, calming, soothing type background noise. Not something TV does. So YouTube has demonetized that channel, which could of course restrict that creator's ability to create these videos, which of course also then negatively impacts people who enjoy that content and come to YouTube to watch it. But since it doesn't fit into YouTube's vision for itself, the creators, the owners, it's been demonetized. Now, what can you do about this if you are so inclined? Well, there's not really a lot you can do about it, of course. If you have a YouTube channel, even if you only use it to comment on videos, you can, of course, feel free to contact YouTube, the corporation, and let them know that you don't like this. Be polite about it. If you are rude or overly aggressive, YouTube will simply consider you a troll. But if you are polite and simply state, this is what's going on, this was your response to it, and I don't appreciate it. That's good. Customer feedback is something corporations use to determine how they do things. The more people that do that, the more chance it has of actually affecting YouTube's course. If you are a subscriber to Vox or Carlos, whether here on YouTube or on Twitter, you can unsubscribe to them. Granted, they don't have any actual power, but they are pushing for this. Vox is doing this in order to squash its own competitors, and of course Carlos is doing this to attempt to control any criticism of his own actions. So if you follow him, even if you're not necessarily a fan of him, but just to keep an eye on what he's doing, or ironically because you find him humorous, what a lot of people do in this millennial digital age is take validation from the number of followers that they have, the number of people who view their videos, the number of people who retweet their tweet, who like or subscribe, unsubscribe, dislike, unfollow, unfriend. This is one of the best ways to actually make them sit up and take notice, because it lets them know that people don't like what they're doing. YouTube will also eventually see this if it happens in a large enough number. Seeing a backlash against Carlos and Vox for what they have done will make them nervous. So if you wish to protest, that is another good way to do that. Now, to support creators who have suffered from the adpocalypse, one way is to find out alternate platforms these people may be on. For example, BitChute has become quite popular nowadays because of the more draconian policies that YouTube has inflicted on itself. BitChute, by far, is far more American in its style, and is far more free to allow whatever content, and allows the viewer to decide. If it's bad content, then don't watch it. Dislike it. Unsubscribe to the channel. These channels will eventually fade away if they get no views, or at least be renegaded to obscurity. Whereas good videos, popular videos, can be watched, viewed, subscribed, liked, commented on, and builds those channels up. The way YouTube used to be in the more Wild West type days of the internet. I myself have a BitChute channel, which link should be in the description below. Feel free to watch me on there, especially should anything ever happen to this channel. Subscribe, like, comment, whatever you feel led to do. Finally, it is possible to support creators without ads. Many creators have donations. Some use Patreon, although Patreon is less trustworthy these days, unfortunately. But there's also other alternatives like PayPal accounts, or Subscribestar, or donate buttons, GoFundMes, and the like. If you want to help, even if it's just $1, many creators will very much appreciate people who go on and support them in whatever means possible. So helping them financially when their revenue has been cut is definitely a great way to help creators. But even if you aren't in a position to help financially, liking videos, sharing videos, commenting on videos, all these things on YouTube, BitChute, and others do help to support creators, because it makes algorithms and other people more aware that the channel exists, which helps to promote the channel so that more people will watch, more people will like, more people will subscribe, comment, whatever, and maybe some of these people also are in a position to help financially and might donate to the channel and the creator. So don't ever think that your voice doesn't matter. Whatever you can do, no matter how little, please consider doing it to anyone. Obviously, I would appreciate if you did it to my channel, but to any channel that you like, any channel whose content you appreciate, any creator that you admire, definitely. The creators in YouTube, the YouTubers, definitely could use your help right now. Regardless, I hope you found this video informative, and thanks for watching.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. At attack ships on fire off the shore of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the darkness.